welcome you tonight to the Trader Vision workshop. For the recording, this is October 26th, 2017. And let's just get started. I'm not sure how long tonight's program will last. A lot of it will have to do with how many questions you have, but basically what I want to do is give you a sneak peek of Trader Vision version 2. Talk about the process of trading, a good trading process, which is what Trader Vision is built to support. And then we'll go through and plan. I actually will have 5 trades that I'll give you, and we'll set up a plan for them, and we'll go from there. And then I'll answer any questions you have. So let's just get started here. First of all, let's talk about a strong trading process. It all starts with goals, which is something that is usually terribly lacking in most trading education sections. You've got to set smart goals that are both reasonable and achievable, and also, you know, a stretch for yourself as well. And the way we think of trading is that it's really a circular process, as if you're looking down on those arrows as a spiral staircase you're looking down upon. They spiral upward in a continuous fashion. So you start by setting good, strong goals, and that's going to tell you when to pass on a trade, and how to plan and how to manage a trade in order to achieve your goals. Then you select charts that will obviously be able to meet those goals. You validate that the particular setup will meet your goals and plan the trade specifically to take your goal off as quick as possible. And then you manage your trade, again, towards those goals. And you record everything that you do, all of your trade adjustments, as well as the plan, as well as the actual execution if your fills are different than your plan and so forth. And that allows you to go back and look at your performance over time, and go back and look at individual trades or groups of trades, and figure out what's working so you can do more of what works. Excuse me. Less of what's not working, and improve your process. Then you basically rinse and repeat. You adjust your goals upward, hopefully, if you are exceeding your goals, and continue on with the process. So with that said, let's take a quick look here at version 2 of Trader Vision. This is what Trader Vision looks like in version 2. Of course, you can change your color scheme and what have you, but this is a starting point. And as I said, you start with your goals. So this is kind of something you'll come back to periodically. You know, if you're exceeding your goals for 2-3 months in a row, maybe you want to come back and improve your goals. But you can plan your goals monthly or weekly, and it tells you what your account balance is now. You set a goal in and a time frame with which to reach those goals, and it tells you what you need to make either on a monthly or weekly basis. And then you set a plan to reach those goals to validate that they're actually reasonable. You enter your average win size and your average loss size, how many trades you're going to do for that period, and what your win ratio is. And that will tell you whether you're exceeding your goals with that plan or not reaching those goals. And if you're not reaching those goals, you have to go back and adjust the parameters. You'll either have to improve your average win size, reduce the average loss size, improve your win ratio, maybe add more trades, something to adjust that plan so that your actual plan in orange here exceeds the goals, which are in green. And again, it tells you the difference here. And that that's really the foundation of everything you do in trading then, because now you know what I need to make on an average trade, and that gives you something to plan against. The next thing that you would do is, let's go to the trade log. This is where all of your trades are logged, and you can see what's open, what's not, what's still in the planned state. And then drill down into each one of them. And this is really the heart of the entire program. This is where you basically plan your trade, execute your trade, record all of your notes and adjustments, screenshots if you want to add those, spreadsheets, anything you use to help you plan the trade, so that when you come back to it in a year or something, you'll be able to get back inside your head, what was I thinking at that point in time. In this particular setup, it's still in a planned status, as you can see. We know that in this particular account is for the goals that were set at this point in time, I only needed to make $135 per trade for the goal, to achieve the goals over the course of a month. It then tells me what price I need to break even based on how many shares I'm buying, and just all sorts of information. It will tell you how many shares to buy in order to keep your stop loss below the value that you set. And again, that depends on how you decide to set your Arnaldo. I'm glad you did. But it tells you all sorts of information, what you need to do to achieve your goal, what price it would need to reach, and that tells you, when you look at the chart, it's at a certain price now, and will it be able to reach that? That tells you realistically, is this a goal that you can afford to take, or is it too much risk for what you're looking to do? As you plan the trade, you put in your ticker, and it would pop up some information about the trade. In this case, we've got it set up to look at the market bias, and in this particular account, we're comparing our trades to the IWM. So it's telling me the 50-day moving average of the IWM and whether it's trending up or down, what it was 25 days ago. And then it looks at the short term as well, what's been doing the last 5 days. And those are user specified as 50 and 5 in the account. You could put that to some other value. It then looks at the particular ticker, not just the market, but the ticker itself, and is it also trending correctly over the 50-day horizon and over the 5-day horizon. Then it looks at the moving average relationship between the T line, which is the 8 EMA, and the 34 EMA, and we'll make those definable as well. It tells me whether or not I've got enough liquidity based on the last price times 3-month average volume. Shows me what candles I have and if I had a candle signal. And it shows me what pattern I have and what patterns happen to be there. And these are scanned for you automatically. We'll also provide you the ability to put in something else for yourself. So for example, maybe you have a very loose definition of what a Morningstar signal is that's different from what the scan that I've written. So you could override this and say, well, I'm going to consider that a Morningstar, that's how I'm going to trade it. And that will allow you to come back later on and say, well, for my definition of Morningstars, how do I perform? But with all this at a glance, you can see that it's got 5 bullish indicators and 0 bearish indicators. So that's a good thing for a bullish trade. You can then plan it out. Well, I'd like to enter at such and such a price, in this case 65 bucks. I'm only going to trade 100 shares, even though it said I could buy 123 and still keep my loss under 500 bucks. And look at support and resistance and put in your exit prices and shares, and it tells you what this trade will look like overall. Overall, it'll make 13%, 12.87. That seems like a reasonable trade. You can then move the trade to execution and then place the orders as you achieve the prices that you want. And that's something else. You can set a alarm on this so that when this ticker reaches 65 bucks, it will then give you a notification just like any other trading platform. Very similar functionality in the execution other than you're actually placing orders. And we will integrate with some brokerages. We'll start out with MB Trading, and we may integrate with a few others off the bat. We'll see how it goes. We're currently in testing, and this isn't a finished product at the moment, so it's still being hammered out, but it's getting close. Of course, you can specify your stops, your stop costs, or your commission costs, I'm sorry, and then edit them if you decide you have some particular different commission. I know that I've talked to some traders in Canada that for some reason, I don't know if it's regulatory or if it's their specific brokerages or what, but they've told me that they get completely different commissions on a trade-to-trade basis. So one trade for the same thing, the same quantity, maybe $6.95, and the next one is $7.10, and no particular reason why, or no rhyme or reason to it. But the point is, you can edit these and see the impacts on your actual trade. This then tells you on two sides here, one on the trade plan, which is blue. You can see that's corresponding to the trade plan color, or green, according to the execution, what all the information is about the trade. Tells you how many shares you still have open. Well, in this case, we haven't opened the trade, so it's still it's zero. Cost base is still open. Your open gain and loss, and your current gain and loss if you were to sell everything right now, and how that relates to your goal. Again, we had a very small goal in this particular account, 135 bucks, so we're probably going to do fairly well at that. As you can see, we're planning to make 342, or more than twice our goal at our first exit. As I said, you can attach let's go here. Let's just pick any file. Yeah. So you can attach an image to the trade so that you can pull it back up, and you can attach as many as you want. As I said, spreadsheets, PDFs, any type of file you want, and then you should be able to get a preview of it. Not working tonight. Oh well. I will record that and get that solved. And then this is something unique that I think is very important, and that's being able to grade your trade so that you can grade yourself on how well you followed your discipline, what sorts of mistakes you might have made, and what your emotions were at the time of entry, during the trade, and at the exit. So were you afraid at entry? Were you greedy at entry? Were you chasing? What were you feeling? Did you get scared out too early? So you can record that information as well. And of course, any notes you have on the trade. This section here, which will be released to our testers soon, basically records every entry and exit made to the trade, so that if you adjust your stop, for example, 4 different times, you'll have a record of what the original stop was and what each of the adjustments made was, the date and time, and so forth. So when you come back to this in a year, 2 years, 10 years, you'll be able to tell everything you need to know to get back inside your head at that time. And of course, you can see all this information as of the current price, how it was set at entry, and what it looked like when the trade was closed, if that's the current case. So that's basically the process, and we'll go through a couple of those tonight. But let's go back to the trade log. The account manager allows you to keep TraderVision in sync with your brokerage. When you are connected to a brokerage, this will automatically be fed back and forth. But for those of you who use a different brokerage that we don't support, or that just want to do it manually, you can reconcile your account statement to what's in the account in TraderVision, and everything will then be in sync. And if you get a fee or something of that nature, you can add it in manually here. You can add it in as a cash deposit or withdrawal, or a broker fee, or perhaps you executed a trade not through TraderVision, but maybe from your phone or from your broker's app on the web when you weren't at your computer, or that sort of thing. Well, you can then put that information in here as well. The basic idea is that this is a accurate reflection of what's going on in your trading account. As you look at each trade potential, you can pop up a chart. You can draw all sorts of indicators on the chart, make yourself notes, that sort of thing. You can work off of a watch list, and then of course these could be integrated. So let's go back here to chart and pull this down. Now let's go to chart. Whoops. There we go. So now we've got our watch list and our chart in sync. Kai, if you've got no audio, you might try the red X in the upper right-hand corner and reload. Let's try writing it maybe. Okay. So you can use the chart to figure out what trades work. You'll get some information in your watch list. You can determine what trades make sense, where the support and resistance are, for determining where to place targets and where to place stops and so forth. Then as you go ahead and move forward, let's move this back down here. In fact, let's move this up here. This is what the dashboard looks like, and it tells you based on whichever account you're looking at what the current account value is, how much of your account you have in open trades, and then what your available to trade funds are. Gives you some information about your open trades and percent of the account in trades that are long or short, so forth. You can get some information about your recent history, and it's 30 days, but as the default, but you can look at whatever you want to look at, year to date, 3 months, whatever you're interested in looking at, and it will give you then the statistics, how many trades were there, the average cost of that trade, the average gain or loss, and what that is in a percentage, and your win rate, your expectancy, and your goal during that period, and so forth. And then, of course, what the ticker that you have the account set up to look at, compare yourself to what it did over that period. Each of the trades are then shown to you graphically and as well as in details. You'll be able to click on one of these, any of these open trades, and open up the trade plan as well then. We've got an access violation here. That's just par for the course with beta testing software. And I apologize about that, but it is what it is. So that's where we're at right now, and that's what TraderVision is going to look like. Of course, you can put these in separate windows and drag these off to different monitors or just different windows if you prefer. So it's very flexible, and it should get everything you need, soup to nuts, to plan your goals, choose your trades, plan your trades, manage those trades, and then analyze your performance after the fact. I see a couple people typing here, so I'm going to hold on. Well, we're not seeing any posts, but I do see typing. For the moment, we're going to use MB Trading, which is a division or subsidiary of Ally Invest, which if you were involved with Trade King, they own Trade King now, so Trade King is now Allied Invest. We'll also be looking at other brokerages. Some of them will give us tight integration, some of them won't. For example, Thinkorswim doesn't provide tight integration. We'll be able to do some integration, but how tightly is really determined by the brokerage. We'll be looking at Tradier, which is another of the smaller brokerages, but they do a good job as well. And Interactive Brokers as well. This is like Interactive Brokers is like Thinkorswim. It won't be tight integration. I'm not sure about the TC2000 brokerage, to be honest with you, Glenn. I'll have to investigate. Is that true, Steve? Because they bought their own small brokerage. So I'm not sure if they sold it then to IB. Okay, well, it's odd because they bought their own brokerage. But if they're running it through Interactive Brokers, then it'll be the same situation. We'll have integration, but how tight will be defined by them. Okay, well, that's interesting. Okay, so with that out of the way for now, let's take a look at where we're at here. Let's plan a few trades. So I just picked out a few tonight, and you can look at them and figure out whether they fit for you and your particular type of trading. I think all of them tonight are trending stocks that have done some sort of consolidation or breakout. Well, I'm not so, I don't use the TC2000 brokerage system, so I can't really speak to that. Well, Kai, no, I can't. The reason that I can't do that, if you're talking about in TraderVision, TraderVision is not set up to buy or to deal with with options at this point. That will be an upcoming version. So that's next on the development schedule as soon as I get version 2 out here. Let's look at these trades. So CRL is a particular trade. It's probably not going to be for everybody. They don't have enough open interest to do an option trade on this with any sort of liquidity. So I would suggest that this is just going to be a stock trade. It's been trending strongly for quite some time. And it's been consolidating here for a week. And then today it broke out. I would be looking for it to pull back and hopefully retest this 115 or 116 level as support and then bounce up off it, proving that it is support, to give me a nice tight entry and stop at a little bit better price. Because we're at all-time highs, I'm going to use fib extensions of this run to set my targets. And I'll use the 38.2, 61.8, and possibly 100%. Just looking for it to follow that trend on up. I'm sorry, guys. Let's try that. As I was saying, it's been trending for some time. You can draw the fibs. It's been consolidating tightly here this last week, and then it broke out today. But I'm looking for it to pull back. It closed above the breakout. I'm looking for it to pull back and retest this to prove support before I take my entry. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and I'll go on to the next trade. If it does happen, I know this is support, and I can set my stop very tight below it, give me a very good risk reward. And again, using the fibs of this extensions of this run, 38.2, 61.8, and possibly 100% as targets over the longer term. Yeah, I apologize about that, guy. I should have changed it for you, but yeah, if you click on screen sharing, if you're not there now, that will get you my screen. So let's just take a quick look at what this would do for us in Trader Vision. So let's go to trade log and add a new trade. And this shows us the last 6 candles, and we've got 5 bullish indicators, or 4 bullish indicators, I guess really 5. And a few indicators that are neither positive nor negative. No bearish indications at all. If I'm using a $500, let's just do 1x, 2. And for that, I'm going to say that I'm going to use 117 is my entry. So let's just put that in here. And my stop is going to be about, let's call it 115. It was tight below that. And my first target was, what was that? First target was up there about 120.40. And my second target is going to be 123. Doesn't look like a lot of move. It says I can buy 247 shares. I know that that's too big for this account. So just for argument's sake, let's just make this 100 shares. And at 100 shares, it tells me that I've actually got a risk of $206 if I'm stopped out. And let's just say that I sell half the position at the first target. I make 165.50, which exceeds my goal. That's great. So basically after the first target, which is only $3, which is a tiny move, 2.85%, I'm already ahead of the game. I've got my goal in the bank and the suggestion is off. No, Kai, it doesn't. And I don't think that would make sense. The reason being that it would be based on support and resistance. You'd have to, we'd have to somehow scan the chart to figure out what makes sense. In some cases, that'll be support and resistance. At all-time highs like this, I guess it would have to be fibs. And then it's a question of where do you draw the fibs? These are just things that are much, much easier. Well, when you set up the application, you can choose how do you want to plan your stops. Do you want it to do a maximum dollar loss at the stop price? Do you want to do the total dollars for a position? Do you want to do based on the ATR, which is the volatility stop that you were talking about? So you can set it up that way. And if you had one of those other, I've just got maximum dollar loss to the stop, but if you had one of those other options chosen, then this would be calculated a different way. Does that answer your question, I hope? Yeah, okay. Yeah, Steve's right. You do need to use your eyeballs and choose a logical position. I always like to have a proven support level between current price and my stop. There are times that doesn't make sense, but that's what I want to do. And then I will set my stop based on that. So I have this trade planned, and I can close it. And let's go back and look at one of the next ones here. So CRL, WGO is a similar situation. It's been trending for some time. We did have a recent pullback, and we broke out of that, and we're doing the same thing again in a smaller version. So I've got two sets of fibs. Again, we're at all-time highs. And I've also got some, well, no, I got two fibs that I'm using to look for confluence to set up my targets. We've got a bullish engulfing signal today during this pullback, and it's looking to break out again. Again, I'm looking for a tight stop because this is a proven, now a proven support level. So I'm going to put my stop down tight below that, looking for maybe an inside day entry. I'm using this area where both the 38.2 of this original run down here and the 23.6 of this most recent run converge. That's where my first target is. I'm doing the same thing up here with the 61/8, just picking a level in between them. And then there's another level up here at the 100% extensions that converge together. So that's how I would set my targets. Again, my stop is below proven support at this point, and so it can be pretty tight. Let's take a look at this. So our entry is going to be 47.50. Our stop is 46.60, let's call it. What did I do there? 50, 46.60. What was the target? First target was about 50 bucks. Second target was about 52.10. And it says I can buy 500 shares under that, 548 shares under this arrangement with that tight stop. Let's just make it 500 shares. And let's see what happens if I take 200 of them off at the first stop. I more than make many times my I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, Kai. If so, it can project fib extension, but entry on pullback does not how fib does not maybe have fib retracement. Well, those things were manually drawn. They were not calculated by the program, if that's what you're asking. And Bruce is the brokerage, the data source. That is one of the data sources. If you don't have a brokerage, you would get, I've got no brokerage connected at this point in time. So for this demo, this is all from our secondary sources. And so it's, I'm not going to, we have our own database that I update every night. We'll automate that update, but I update every night, and we have for 8,550 tickers, we have 20 plus years of history, and then we get Art. It's been on the market for about a year and a half, but it's like April, I believe April of 16. So give or take. So let's say we're going to sell 200 shares at that second stop. And now we're going to add an exit. And what was that third exit at? That third exit was up about 55 bucks. So let's make that 55. And let's sell the last 100 shares there. What would that do for us as a plan? So we'd make about 9.5% and about 15.5%. Overall trade would be over 9%. Yes, I have drawn the endpoints of the fib extensions. And I can get into fibs at some point. I don't have time to really get into that, how to draw them tonight. But I use fibs quite a bit, and so I could talk to that, possibly offline or something. So this trade would be more than good to meet my goals for the trade. Again, that's a very low goal for the particular account. And we could move these to execution or set some alarms if you prefer to manually look at things and place the orders. Let's go ahead and save this and go on and look at the next trade. Aspen Technology, similar situation. We've got what you might call a two-star or morning star. You might call this sort of a trader's best friend, with a doji, then a small gap up and a strong bullish candle to break out. At this point, I would be looking for an entry just about where we're at now. Ideally, I'd like to see a proven breakout level for support. Yes, it shows the risk-reward ratio. I'll get back to that in just a second. Again, fib targets because we're at all-time highs, and that's just what I would be looking at along the trend line. So let's go back here to plan this trade. Here's where you would get, let's just do it. Let's AZPN. What do I got for an entry? Let's call it 6670, 6610. About 69 bucks and about 70.50. Tells me with these numbers I can buy 800 shares, 823, but let's just say we're going to do 500 shares again. And I sell 200 at the first target. Because of the way I've got this thing set up, and let's say I'm going to sell 300 at the second target. Because of the way I've got this set up, it tells me that to this first, well, let's just, I'm not sure if I've got it set up to all or not. Yeah, I've got it set up that I want to look at the risk reward to every stop that I've got. So if I have, or every exit that I've got. So if I've got one exit planned, it will give me the risk reward to the first exit. If I've got two exits planned, it'll tell me the risk reward, including both of them. In this case, because I've got all selected, it's telling me that the overall trade, I'm risking 1, I'm getting 5.2 to 1 reward. It tells me it really only needs to move a tiny bit, less than 0.5%, for me to make that tiny goal. If that goal was larger, obviously we'd need to get a little bit better move. So even with less than a 5% trade, overall, I can easily make that goal many, many times over because I need 0.5% to make my goal. So it's telling me these things. The equity curve is under the performance review, and yes, I'm not sure if I'll have time to get to that tonight, but I can certainly show it to you offline or whatever. But it does show your equity curve, as well as in relation to what your account is up against. So I specified IWM, or the small caps, is what I want to compare myself to. I could specify SPY or the diamonds or an individual symbol. If I wanted to compare myself to Microsoft or compare myself to some ETF, you could do that, and it will chart your performance against that benchmark. So again, tiny trade, tiny small trade, but potentially makes my goal. And I just want to look at one or two more here. CDNS, this is what Doug calls a pop out of the box. Very tight consolidation here. And today it's popping out or breaking out. You would buy this breakout. Again, we're at all-time highs here, and so we're going to use the fib extensions to set our targets. So we're going to enter here at about 42.70, and 44.75 is our first target. Let's just plan a one target trade here. CDNS. I can't remember the numbers anymore. $42.70, $41.75. And our one target for this this go around, let's just call it 44.70. So what's this tell us? We can do 520 shares and stay below our max acceptable loss. Let's just make it 500 shares. We're going to sell all 500 at this first target. What's that tell us about the trade? It tells us that we're getting a little over 2 to 1 reward to risk. We can pretty easily make our goal. We only need 2/3% move to reach our goal for the trade. Break even will be almost no move at all. Our risk at the stop is $481 if we buy 500 shares, and it's all stopped out. And over it's all stopped out. And overall, again, it's a tiny trade, only less than 5% trade, which I probably would never take. But in this case, you would see that, yeah, that trade would meet my goals. So that's the important thing, is being able to validate your trade. Oops, let me save that. And the last trade I want to look at today is SkyW. And SkyW, I pointed out in Stock Twits a while back. And today, at some point, it had popped out and broken out. But the reason I like to have proven support is it popped out, but then it sold off. So I want to close above the breakout, and then I want to see it retest that possibly the next morning. Yeah, Kai, there will be for version 2. There is for version 1 a step-by-step guide. There are also things that will be in it that make it a lot easier. For example, you can trade from the chart, and that will eliminate some of the data entry. But at the bottom line, if you're not willing to put in the information to plan your trades, then you're just going to shoot from the hip and you're going to plan to fail. That's all there is to it. That's just how trading works. You've got to have a plan. You've got to stick to the plan, or you're just cowboying it and you're going to get burned. That's my personal opinion. That's the way everything is built, and that's the way I preach to all the students that I coach. Back here on SkyW, so we're looking at, I'm looking to buy about 47.85 with a tight stop about 46.25. And what were my targets? Let's just call that 53.50 and 57.10. Says I can buy 300 shares, so let's just buy 300. And let's sell 200 at the first stop and 100 at the next exit, I should say. And this is a more reasonable trade, so we're making almost 12% at the first exit. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by more intuitive. I would love to hear that. If you've got opinions, I would love to hear it and find out. You know, I'm always willing to learn, and I'm always willing to improve the product. So, you know, I'll be happy to talk to you about that if you'd like. But there's a lot of data that is required to be there. You know, we're already populating a lot of data for you. And a lot of these fields don't need to be filled in. They're populated for you after you put in the prices. But end of the day, you've got to put in the ticker. You've got to put in, at least as a default, if not on a per trade basis, how much you're willing to risk. And you've got to put in the prices and shares. We can suggest how many shares to buy, but you need to specify that yourself. So that's the sort of information that only you can put in place. But on this trade, you get about 4.2 to 1. Again, we're looking at, in this account setup that I've got, we're looking at all of the exits to come up with that information. And I guess that's about it. It tells us I got about 25% from the current price to the actual first exit. Highlight the fields in a different color than the one calculated. Okay, so you're basically saying that data entry fields would be one color font or one color field, and the calculated fields would all be some other color. If that seems like it would be more intuitive to you, I'm certainly willing to run that past my testers and see if they agree with that. Because everybody has their own personal preferences, and I want to see if it's going to fit the most people. But I appreciate the input. I really do, Kai. Thank you. So that's it for the trades that I wanted to cover. There's 5 trades for you planned out for tomorrow that you can take a look at. As I said, this is being recorded, and so you can look at that should you want again. At this point, let me switch back over to the slides. Yeah, that is, Karen, that is basically I'm all about the process and discipline. That's how you make your money. Can I show the equity curve? Okay, so here's your equity curve, and again, this is a dummy account with a few trades in it. I'm comparing myself to the IWM, so this is what the IWM has done over time. Oops, this is the wrong account. There we go. The blue mountain is the account value for this account, and this is the IWM over that same period of time. Each of the trades that, and to be honest with you, most of these trades were just entered and left in place, so they were not managed. It was not operated appropriately. But you can see what each of the trades has done. And then we have all sorts of reports that you can do that I'm not really ready to talk about right now. Okay, Richard, I appreciate that, and I will take that to heart. We'll look at doing, as Kai said, and using different colored fields to draw people's eyes to the appropriate field to enter. Going back to our slides here, I don't think I have much else other than I'm giving you my email, and we've got a YouTube channel as well as the website tutorials page where all of our version 1 recordings and all of these workshops are posted. If you've got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now. The product, Trader Vision, is going to be $37 per month. You're welcome, Stu. It's been one of those things, it's been a couple years here that I've been developing it. And before that, I had thought about it for about 5 years. And then Doug finally got me off the dime, and we got started here. He started out with a spreadsheet, and I just kind of took the ball and ran. Thank you, Karen. The release date, I'm not going to give you one, David, and that's, I'm not trying to be coy. I'm just telling you that I won't release a product until it's not only stable but in great shape, and that is going to be determined by my testers. Oh God, yeah. I hope, I truly hope it's in the next month or so, but ideally by year end, because traders can do their most of the changes that they want to do in their process and procedure are done at year end or the beginning of the year. And so that's when it's easiest. You're starting off with a full account and you have the full year. So hopefully it will be done in the next month or so. Released in the next month or so. When will I add options? Again, Kai, I can't tell you because I won't release a product unless I'm supporting it as well. So I won't release a product until it's ready to go. And I won't even start development on the options. I've got my specs in place, but I won't even start the development until version 2 is out. Does it give you your win-loss ratio? Yes, it does. Not only can you look, I showed you on the dashboard, it tells you what your win rate is here. You specify the period and it will give you the win rate for that, but you get it as well in here. This is a dummy account, and so I don't really have good information in it, but that's where you'll see it. I'll answer PMs after we're done here. I've got a lot of them here. I apologize. Do we have any other questions? What language is it coded in? Does it matter, David? It's coded in Delphi. And the reason we chose that is because it's multi-platform, so I can compile it for Windows, Mac, Linux, so forth, right out of the bat. And it's a fast language, and it's also very old and stable. It's been around since the 90s, maybe the 80s. And so it's a pretty strong, stable language. It's not something that's just being developed now on the fly. There's a lot of libraries and so forth that are, and have been in place a decade, and so we know they're good and stable. And that's not a sexy language. It's not one of the new languages that people, the C Pound and the C++ and the .NET platforms that are Windows only. Those are the new ones, the Java type stuff. But Java is very, very slow. Now it's downloaded to the PC. We've talked about someday maybe going to a web-based platform, but it is, for now, it's a fully compiled, fully modular program that you run on your PC, or you can move from PC to PC or whatever. David, you don't need one. We have ones that we are providing that come, that is built into the price. But if you do have a brokerage that will connect to, then obviously that would be ideal. Not only could you pass orders back and forth, but you'll get real-time data on all the things you're following. It's stored on the local machine, and it's backed up every night or every day automatically, and you can specify a backup directory. So if you wanted to put a cloud address on there, you could. You can specify how many backup files to keep, and it will back up the entire database every day. So if I wanted to put a Dropbox or a Google Drive address or something of that nature, you certainly could, and it would back up the files there. Hopefully can prophesize your position, tie your connects it. Would it be an add-on to TOS? Well, it will not be related to TOS. You know, it's not an add-on. You certainly can't buy it through Thinkorswim or anything of that nature. Thank you, David. You know, it will be its own program, but it could be used with TOS or any brokerage. Some better than others in terms of integration because of their company approaches. Thinkorswim claims to be to allow integration to third-party applications, but that's just talk. The truth of the matter is that they won't give you API documentation. They'll, oh yeah, we'd love to integrate with you, but then you hear nothing from them ever. So I'm not sure if that's a function of TD Ameritrade taking them over, or it's a Thinkorswim thing, but they talk a good game, but they don't really do that sort of integration. Same thing with interactive brokers. I'm not picking on Thinkorswim. You know, it's just their approach to life. Okay, guys. Well, again, if you have questions or suggestions or anything of that nature, feel free to drop me a line. It's ed@tradervision2020.com. You can view the videos on our YouTube channel. And if you go to the website, let's see how I do this. If you go to the website and go to Products, TraderVision, Tutorial, it will list all sorts of version 1 manuals and tutorial videos, as well as all of our workshop recordings. So you can get a better look at things. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Karen. Well, if I had that feature, Steve, you'd be talking to blank air here, because I would be on the beach of my own island someplace, sipping margaritas. But I know that's something that everybody asks for. I will tell you that one of the things, let's just open one of these trades. You know how this is scanning for candle signals and patterns? One of the things we'll be adding in the future is the ability for you, just like in TC2000, to write your own scan codes and do your own scanning. So it will then be kind of a full package there. So we will add that at some point. So if you got the code to figure out the big winner for tomorrow, then you can certainly code it. Okay, guys, thanks so much for coming.